Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Lepakshi Khurana. Here are the top stories we're tracking for you on Tuesday, the 26th of March. Pakistan's former Premier Nawaz Sharif granted bail for 6 weeks on medical grounds. Opportunity for peace in Afghanistan is real this time, says NATO envoy. And Nepal and Japan ink much-awaited labour agreement. And now for all the details. Pakistan's Supreme Court on Tuesday granted former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif bail for 6 weeks to obtain medical treatment within the country. Sharif, who has been serving a 7-year prison sentence in the Al Azizia corruption case, had been lately complaining of cardiac problems.
Pakistan's Supreme Court on Tuesday granted former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif bail for 6 weeks to obtain medical treatment within the country. A 3-judge bench led by Chief Justice of Pakistan Asif Saeed Khosa granted bail to Sharif on medical grounds against 2 surety bonds of ₹5 million each. The decision came over a plea filed by Sharif in the top court after the Islamabad High Court dismissed his bail application for cardiac treatment. The High Court has stated that it is not a case pertaining to unusual circumstances. Sharif was sentenced to 7 years in prison by an accountability court in the corruption case in a verdict announced on December 24th last year. The short order read out by the Chief Justice said that Sharif will have to surrender himself to jail authorities once the bail period is over. If he fails to surrender, he will be arrested. Sharif's legal counsel had requested the court for bail for 8 weeks.
Moving on, Jamil Maqsood, a prominent Kashmiri political activist, has said that Pakistan-administered Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan remain breeding grounds for Pakistan-backed terrorists. The activist made the remarks while highlighting the issues concerning the common public in both the illegally occupied territories.
Kashmiri political activist Jamil Maqsood recently expressed concerns over growing extremism and terrorist activities in Pakistan-administered Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan, the regions under Pakistan's illegal occupation. Maqsood said Pakistan has been using the territories for its proxy war against India and has given shelter to banned terrorist organizations. He claimed that there are terrorist camps running under the patronage of State of Pakistan in both the illegally occupied territories.
The terrorist infrastructure is still intact. Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed, Harkat al-Ansar, Tehreek al-Mujahideen and dozens of other groups are using POK and Gilgit-Baltistan as a launching pad and as a training camp. So the training camps are still there. The terrorists who are on the run in Pakistani soil, they are taking refuge in Pakistani occupied Kashmir and Gilgit-Baltistan because Pakistan transfer these terrorists to their peripheries, so to create an eyewash for the international community.
New Delhi and Washington have long accused Pakistan of arming, training and infiltrating terrorists as proxy to mount attacks in Afghanistan and India. The recent one was a deadly suicide bombing in Pulwama district of India's Jammu and Kashmir on February 14th, which killed at least 40 Indian security personnel. The attack was claimed by Pakistan-based Jaish-e-Mohammed terror group.
In news from Afghanistan, NATO's senior civilian representative for Afghanistan, Nicholas K., has said that the opportunity for peace in Afghanistan is real this time. He encouraged all parties to seize the moment and set out an inclusive intra-Afghan dialogue to resolve their issues.
NATO's senior civilian representative for Afghanistan, Nicholas K., has said that the opportunity for peace in Afghanistan is real this time. And to ensure lasting peace, there is a dire need to preserve the achievements of the last 18 years in the country. Nicholas K., who previously served as Britain's ambassador to Afghanistan, said in a video on Twitter that he would encourage all parties to seize the moment and set out an inclusive intra-Afghan dialogue to resolve their issues.
This year in Afghanistan, I really do believe, is a critical year in deciding whether this country will enjoy the peace that it so much deserves. There's never been a year like this since 2001. The opportunity is real, but the risks are real as well. This moment will not last forever, and I really do encourage all parties to seize the moment.
Recent efforts by the United States for Afghan peace have been welcomed among ordinary Afghans, but women in the country have been concerned about a potential compromise on their rights in exchange for peace. The NATO envoy assured that supporting women's active role in the peace process remains a top priority. His remarks come as the talks between the US and Taliban in Doha ended after 16 days on March 12th, with an agreement in draft on withdrawal of foreign forces and counter-terrorism assurances.
More news from Afghanistan. Afghan presidential candidate Mohammad Hanif Atmar on Monday said the term of the National Unity Government will not have legitimacy after May 22nd and that Afghans are reaching to a consensus on this. He also raised the issue of high casualties among the Afghan security forces and said the government has failed to ensure people's safety.
Afghan presidential candidate and former National Security Advisor Mohammad Hanif Atmar on Monday said the term of the National Unity Government or NUG will not have legitimacy after May 22nd and that Afghans are reaching to a consensus about this. Addressing a ceremony on former Vice President Marshal Mohammad Qasim Fahim's death anniversary in Balkh province, Atmar claimed that the government is hindering the peace talks with the Taliban. He also raised the issue of high casualties among Afghan security forces and said the government has failed to ensure people's safety.
ولی ما حتما حکومت را می‌خواهیم که برای صلح و انتخابات با صداقت کار بکنه، نه ای که خود به یک مانع تبدیل شود. بناهن آوردن حکومت سرپرست و یا موقت بر اساس احکام قانون اساسی ما از اولویت‌های ما خواهد بود.
NUG was established based on an agreement between Afghan President Ashraf Ghani and Chief Executive Abdullah Abdullah in September 2014 after controversial elections. The agreement on NUG was brokered by former US Secretary of State John Kerry.
Moving on to news from Nepal. Nepal and Japan signed an agreement on Monday, formally paving the way for migration of Nepali workers to Japan, one of the most lucrative labour destinations for Nepali workers. The pact signed under the government-to-government modality will come into effect from 1st of April and would not include those who went to Japan earlier.
Nepal and Japan on Monday signed a labour agreement under which Nepali workers residing in Japan will receive the status of Specified Skilled Workers or SSW. SSW is a status of residence applicable to foreigners who hold jobs that require considerable knowledge or experience in specific industry fields, according to the Japanese Foreign Ministry. The agreement term Memorandum of Cooperation or MOC was signed by the Joint Secretary of Nepal's Ministry of Labour, Employment and Social Security Ram Prasad Ghimir and Japanese Ambassador to Nepal Masamichi Saigo. According to the MOC, a separate unit will also be established to facilitate the recruitment process of Nepali workers with the status of residents of SSW. It also states that a joint committee with representatives from both the sides has been established to ensure the proper implementations and to take necessary corrective measures to improve the recruitment. Workers under the first category with certain level of industry-specific skills will be allowed to stay for a maximum of 5 years.
A 10-day-long joint field training exercise has been organised in India's western Pune city, in which troops from the Indian Army and several African nations are participating. The exercise is aimed at acquainting the contingents with each other's operational procedures on humanitarian mine action and peacekeeping operations.
A 10-day-long joint field training exercise is underway in India's western Pune city, in which troops from African nations and Indian Army are participating in peacekeeping and demining drills. The exercise is aimed at acquainting the contingents with each other's operational procedures on humanitarian mine action and peacekeeping operations under the United Nations mandate. As part of the exercise, the training of contingents include mine risk awareness program, survey and marking of mine-affected areas, manual and mechanical methods of demining, besides handling and disposal techniques for improvised explosive devices.
Because IEDs are not new things, it's instruments that have been used in war, but now they have overtaken the use of normal mines that are used by armies. Therefore, it is important for countries to work together in understanding the content and the way to prevent the use of these kind of mines.
What we have been noticing here, this is much more sufficient for our guys, and we would like to not to make it just one phase. We would like to make it 2-3 times.
Soldiers from Uganda, South Africa, Sudan, Nigeria, Ghana, Egypt and many other African nations are participating in the joint military exercise. Apart from 10 soldiers from each participating nation, officers from Rwanda, Democratic Republic of Congo and Madagascar are involved in the exercise as observer countries. The exercise would conclude on March 27th.
The famous tulip garden in India's northern Srinagar city is being given final touches by the authorities for the upcoming tourist season. More than 2 million tulips of 51 different varieties would be showcased in the garden after it opens for the visitors.
Authorities in India's northern Jammu and Kashmir have been fighting against time to give a facelift to the Asia's largest tulip garden in Srinagar city before the start of the tourist season in the valley. A large number of tourists from across the country and abroad visit the garden every year to witness multi-hued flowers in their full glory in the annual tulip show. More than 2 million tulips of 51 different varieties would be showcased in the famous garden in the foothills of Zabarwan Hills after it opens for visitors soon.
ऐसा जो ओपनिंग के बारे में हम बोल सकते हैं, it will be in the last week of March, वो भी last days में, या अगर ओवरकास्ट रहा it will be in first week of April. बाकी जो हमारे जो इंजीनियरिंग वर्क्स हैं, हमारे इस बार एग्जिट गेट हमने बनाया विद रैम्प फैसिलिटी, या अभी हमने और एक जो पब्लिक कन्वीनियंस लोगों के लिए रखी है उसमें भी रैम्प फैसिलिटी रखी है. उसके बाद जो फेस लिफ्टिंग चल रही है इस टाइम वो भी नियर अबाउट 80 to 90% कंप्लीशन पे है, एंड विद इन बाय 2 or 3 days it will be completed.
बागवान जो अब माली अपनी मेहनत दिल लगन से काम कर रहे हैं और इंशाल्लाह वो अपना रंग दिखाते हैं. कुछ ही दिनों के बाद चालू हो रहे हैं, तो हम बता रहे हैं कि डेवलपमेंट के लिए हम क्या क्या कर रहे हैं कि अट्रैक्शन ऑफ टूरिस्ट्स, हम दुनिया भर के टूरिस्टों को खास कर टूरिस्ट को संदेश देना चाहते हैं. आप आइए और देखिए, वाकई ये जन्नत है, बोलने से नहीं, आप देखिए, आप कुछ दिनों के बाद अपना रंग लाएगा और आपको वाकई जन्नत दिखेगा.
The Kashmir Valley is considered as one of the best tourist destinations in the world with its soaring peaks, picturesque locations and hospitality. Tulips in the famous garden remain in full bloom till April end, lending a divine atmosphere to the valley. The opening of the tulip garden also marks the beginning of new tourism season in Kashmir.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude, the top stories once again. Pakistan's former Premier Nawaz Sharif granted bail for 6 weeks on medical grounds. Opportunity for peace in Afghanistan is real this time, says NATO envoy. And Nepal and Japan ink much-awaited labour agreement. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Good night.